So Nora Kirkpatrick, you are the creator and writer and director of Door Number One. It's pretty unique in terms of TV because it's also very much a VR experience. Well, it is a VR experience. So explain to us a bit about the show and about the unique quality of its experience.
Sure. So we wanted to do something where the viewer is the lead character. And we wanted you to have a sense of responsibility in the story and be a part of the story, and have it so the story can't continue without you. So it's a choose your own adventure comedy where you get to make decisions throughout the night and decide what happens and who you follow. And so every viewer who watches will have a slightly different experience depending on which way you decided to go.
And it takes place at a high school reunion. Why was that the right setting in order to do this kind of experimental VR thing?
So I thought I wanted to pick a setting that everyone could relate to or had some preconceived notion of what might go on there. So many people have gone to the reunion or are about to go to their reunion, but you would go in thinking like, okay, I know what to expect here. And then we take you off on different journeys. So you can go off with the bullies and search for the time capsule and then end up under the school with the quarterback who's been living in a tunnel for 10 years, or you dance with the show choir, you play with the band, or you climb the gym rope, all these things you think you would normally experience, but then we give you a slightly different take on them.
Talk a bit about the writing process and coming up with a story in all these different scenarios. What was that like?
It was very fun. It was hard because the protagonist can't speak, so you're intuiting what someone's going to say and respond with, and then writing the next scene in relation to that. But we wrote it in kind of a decision tree breakdown, so it starts here, and then we'd say, okay, here's your two options that are going to split, and these two options are going to split. So while the script was written in a linear fashion, you're going from page to page, like, okay, if you choose this one, turn to page 62, like those choose your own adventure books that we read as children. So it was a real challenge to make the storyline go all the way through if you didn't go that way. So if you didn't go with the bullies under the school, I still need you to know certain, even if you took a different journey. So that was the complicated part of how to thread the storyline through, no matter which way you went.
Was it also difficult, I mean, because, you know, this is very much about the experience of it. Was it difficult also to make sure that the story doesn't get lost in some of the more technical aspects of the filmmaking?
Can you say that again? Sorry, it just cut out a little bit.
I was asking, was it also difficult to make sure that the story doesn't get lost in all of the technological aspects of the filmmaking?
Sure. Yeah, I want people to not just be experiencing a VR show. I want you to be in a movie. So I make sure that all the scenes were written from a real standpoint of like, what's everybody's objective and what journey are you, the viewer, on? You're there to tell the girl of your dreams that you love her. And so no matter what road you go, every scene, you're getting pieces of information that are going to dictate your final decision in the last scene, which is who you asked to dance, one of two women.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've worked in VR before. You did a show called Virtually Mike and Nora before this. How did that show help prepare you to do this one?
So that was a much smaller scale show, and each of the episodes were only about 5 minutes. So that was a much kind of starter show to get to this one. And that one helped me get the tools I needed to be able to do something at this scale. So that was pretty much all one location per episode. We put the viewer in very uncomfortable situations. We make you a baby in a crib. In one, you're a rabbit in a magic show. We put you in the middle seat of an airplane and like bombard you. So very tight, uncomfortable sketch comedy, about 5 minutes long. And so that kind of taught me what I need to know to make that work on a larger scale where we're building an algorithm and it's a very technical, you know, my crew on that first show was about 3 people and my crew on this one was maybe 50.
Right. Well, take us on to the set and talk a little bit about working with this technology, working with the actors. How do you as a director help bring all those elements together?
So I came up in sketch comedy and improv, you know, UCB and around LA. And I am all for everyone's ideas really being recognized and for letting people kind of play with their character. So I would set up the scene and give them their character. We'd do it a few times as scripted, and then I would really let people kind of play around with it and find their own journey. Because the scenes are playing all the way through start to finish without cutting for coverage, people could really be acting. You have to be acting all the time. So even if you don't have a line and you're over here, go do your thing. If there's a scene with 200 extras in a gym, you can go and have your whole little storyline that I didn't even need to write, because you're in character and you're continuing on. And so then the viewer can then be catching this storyline while the main one's happening over here. So there's so much to do at once, and I needed actors who could really take a character and run with it and play for the whole time.
We'll talk about some of the actors that you got here. You've got some names that people will recognize, like Missy Pyle and Ravi Patel, and even Snoop Dogg as well.
Yeah.
So talk about finding those right actors and how you worked with them.
We had a great casting director, Melissa DeLizia, who helped us along finding these wonderful people. And a lot of them I knew before Missy Pyle and I were on a show together. And then some of them, like Snoop Dogg, just wanted to be involved in VR. And so we sent it to him and said, hey, do you want to float in space on a meteor? And he said, sure. So, people were excited, I think, to try a new medium, and we got a great group of actors who really pulled it off.
Was there sort of a learning curve in some, because I'm curious how this thing actually works and how you work with this camera and how you, are able to get the coverage that you want and need from it. So was there a learning curve there as you were figuring this out?
Yeah, I mean, primarily what I do as a writer-director is focus on the creative, but in VR, you have to spend a third, if not half your time on the technology. So it's camera testing every different, and they come out with a new one about every month. So it's really dictating what you can afford, not necessarily on the camera, but in post. So the difference between cameras and their ability to cloud stitch dictates if you're going to save $200,000 in post. If the camera can cloud stitch or not. So it's a real balance of like, how can we do this? And I wanted to shoot in slow-mo in VR, so that's only a few cameras that you can really do that on. So I had to focus a lot on the technology, and then we had a great team at Hulu and at Riot who built the algorithm to make the interactivity work, because it's all gaze control. So you're not clicking, you're not selecting, it's all intuitive who you're focusing on, and that's who you follow.
Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, how, because that's a new thing. Yeah. How were you able to pull that off, and why was it essential for you to use that as a storytelling device as opposed to something else?
I wanted it to feel like your life, and so I wanted it to feel like how we make decisions every day. So if someone's asking you to go to the beach, and if someone's asking you to like go to the library, you're going to look at them, and then you're going to follow who you want to follow based on where your focus is. And so that's how it is in this. Somebody will be asking you to do one thing. The longer you look at them, the more they start to glow. And then it eventually glows, it swipes the screen, and then you're off with them. But it's all just who you're paying attention to in the decision points where two choices are presented.
Why is this a viable medium, VR, for storytelling? What attracts you to it? Why use it as a way to tell stories?
I think it'll never replace film and TV. I think it's a different entity unto itself, but I think it allows you, A, to pay attention in a way that you don't when you're watching TV, because you're watching TV and you're on your phone and you're on your computer doing emails. And VR forces you to pay attention. And by putting you in the story, it gives you a sense of emotionality that you just don't have watching it happen to somebody else 5 feet away. It's like I can make you feel uncomfortable spatially. I can really burst your comfort bubble. And you really feel like they're talking to you. If someone is up in your face and it feels like they're 1 foot away and they are yelling at you or screaming at you or trying to kiss you, like you feel like it's happening to you. And I think that is a really exciting way to not only watch a story, but to experience it. And that to me is totally different than TV. And I think people are going to respond to, I am in the story, not just I'm watching the story.
When did you realize that you wanted to, dip your feet into this? Like you said, you have a background in sketch comedy. You're an actress. A lot of people will recognize you from your role on The Office. So when did you first realize you wanted to not just write and direct, but also dip your toes into this new technology?
Saw it. Someone showed me a few documentaries in VR, and the first time I saw it, I thought it was incredible, and I was instantly thinking about how funny it could be, and kind of surprised that more people weren't trying to make people uncomfortable, because I think that's what it's really great for. And so when I just want to see if this can be funny, and it's a different level of humor because you feel almost embarrassed as the viewer. And so that's got the first show, which was short, kind of Portlandia type sketches. And after that, I thought we could go even farther. And so that's why we did Choose Your Own Adventure. And I think even on the next one, we'll go even farther with the interactivity. And I think the viewers' vocals will start to register. And we'll shoot it scale, moving around in the environment and talking back. And then at that point, basically is your life. And then we're living in a simulation and everything's great.
Right. Well, speaking of the next step, what are you working on now that you finished this, or is there what's going on now with you with this VR?
So I have another VR project we're starting to work on. It's kind of like Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, memory embedding, an active series that's not VR but on the computer, where the viewer kind of clicks and figures things out. Of normal flat TV and film stuff too. So working on a feature and some things just feeling.
Well, congratulations, and Nora, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It's a really tell people how they can watch this actually, because it's really something.
So yeah, if you have a headset, download the Hulu VR app, any headset you have, and in the VR section, we are front and center. You can't miss us. And then if you don't have a headset, you can go to Hulu and search Door Number One, and you can watch a 2D mockumentary I made behind the scenes just as a supplement. But it's not the interactive series. So I would recommend getting a headset. There's a new one that just came from Oculus that's very affordable. And check out this whole new world that is virtual reality.
You heard it there. Thank you. Thank you so much. And also, I should mention that this is eligible in the Best Interactive Program category at the Emmys. You can always count on the TV Academy for looking forward into the future with this kinds of stuff. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Okay.
You're welcome.